I'm Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact focused on personal growth, my Knowledge Workbook series and Creative Healing course can help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about no contact got me my avoidant ex back. So today we've got a success story, and you're going to love this one because you're going to see so many of the issues that you're going through in your breakup and the fears, the anxiety, and the things that happen when you go no contact. I know it's terrifying. I know no contact is extremely difficult to do in a lot of ways. In some ways, it's simple. You don't reach out to the person. But in a lot of ways, the struggle that you go through every single day, all day and night, looking for excuses to reach out, coming across other coaches that tell you to do so. And then you think, oh, maybe they know what they're talking about. I can assure you, those things usually make things worse. Look at the comments of the people that do those things. That often makes their ex angry, upset, and now their ex is no longer afraid of losing them. And you want them to be afraid of losing you, okay? And it's their decision, so they have to suffer the consequence. And we're not asking for a lot, but we're looking for some kind of direct message from them, okay? Not like a liking of a meme, not sending you a meme. We want something direct, okay? So we have tons of videos on how to handle those things, but I want to show you this one. You're going to want to stay on this one because you're going to see a lot of things transpire through this situation. And she did a great job of staying centered. She did a great job of focusing on what you need to do in no contact. Some of you guys are much better students than others. Some of you are slackers. You watch the clickbait videos, you get obsessed on that kind of stuff, but then you're not prepared for when your ex comes back. And if they do come back, you're going to be a lot more likely to mess those things up. I could tell you that time and time and time again, but until you actually start to follow through with it, you're going to see for yourself the consequences. So you're going to love this email. They said, "Hi, Victoria, Coach Craig, and the late, great Margaret. I am writing you a success story because I truly believe I would not have this story to tell if it wasn't for my meetings with Victoria, your channel, and the Knowledge Creative Healing course." Guys, please take a look at the course. Go look at all this stuff that comes inside of it that you're going to work through. It's incredible. We spent a long time putting something together that I knew would change your life, and something that I knew Margaret would be proud of, because I would never put out anything that I didn't think Margaret would be proud of us for doing and creating. And so it's filled with so much incredible stuff. You're absolutely going to love it. There's so many activities that you can do and sit down and watch a video and answer questions instead of just sitting there watching your ex log on and off of Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp, and you guys know that you're doing it. Replace that behavior with the positive things like the workbooks or the creative healing course, and you're going to see so much growth. You're going to feel so much growth, as you heard someone that's doing it just say. So this woman is in her late 40s, and she was with a guy in his early 50s. She had been married before. He had been married before. But the interesting thing about this guy is he's been married twice before. One time was over 15 years. The other time was about 10 years. And those are the only two relationships he's ever had. So that's interesting. He doesn't have a lot of dating experience other than those few long-term relationships. Now, I suspect that this guy probably has more of a fearful, anxious attachment style, and not so much like towards the dismissive avoidant, based on his behaviors and what he does here. But let's go through this. They met in the summer of 2021 on a dating website. Both of us had traumatizing marriages and divorces. My ex-husband remained very angry at me for years and wreaked havoc on my life. Let's call him Colin. Colin's first wife had multiple affairs, and his second wife was mentally unstable and emotionally abusive. We happened to be the two nicest, most calm people you could ever meet. Well, no wonder why you liked us so much. You could see yourselves in the nicest, most friendly people and calm coaches you could ever meet. There was no one calmer than Margaret, I can tell you that. The stories that woman could tell you would make the hair stand up on the back of your head on all the different things. Remember, she worked with murderers in the prison. She worked in all kinds of very challenging, difficult situations. And yet she was always so calm and relaxed. It was incredible. When we met, I had my 3 kids still at home. Now they're a little bit older. Colin has 2 adult children. We fell hard and fast. He pursued me. In hindsight, probably some love bombing and definite grand gestures, but that is just who he is. He started staying at my house full time after about a year of dating. He kept an apartment in our neighboring state for income tax purposes. We spent a lot of time at his lake house. We enjoyed every bit of each other's extended families, spending numerous holidays, summer weekends, etc. together. Everyone was so happy that we had both finally found our person. We traveled multiple times a year, and on our 2nd anniversary, he surprised me with a private table overlooking the Bellagio water fountains in Vegas and proposed. It was straight out of a fairy tale. He had never talked about engagement, but assumed we would be together. He hired a photographer, the chef came out to meet us, flowers everywhere, and he had designed a custom ring. Everything is so great so far, right? Let's see what happens. 6 months later, he started to express concerns about not being happy with my busy kid schedule when he had been out of that phase for so long, because his kids are older. In the fall of 2024, he ended things. We had never had a fight. No voices raised. I know we both tended to avoid conflict. I wanted to start planning a wedding. I pushed when he showed resistance, and he panicked. His rationale was that he didn't want to be tied down with kids for another 4 years. He went on and on about how perfect I am for him and how he'd shed a lot of tears over the next few weeks. It was the hardest thing I have ever been through. It was shortly after that I found your channel and dove in. I listened while I slept. I have a playlist called Listen While You Sleep for this very reason. Put it on every night. Trust me. Try it for a couple of weeks and see how you feel. See if it makes you feel better, because people started telling me that after I had created the channel for a while. And so I was like, well, I should just create a playlist called Listen While You Sleep, because the sound of our voices is soothing. You wake up, you're anxious, you're stressed out, you watch a video for a little bit, you might fall back asleep. But try and do it every single night. Go to that playlist, Listen While You Sleep. It's nice and long, and see if it helps. I worked on the Creative Healing course and listened to videos all day, every day. I am talking 5 months straight. This is no surprise to me. And many of you guys are in this situation and feel the same exact way. I get it. I've been there. That's why I do this. That's why I understand this stuff so well, because I obsessed about every tiny, minute detail. I read every article, book, video that I could find so many years ago before I launched the channel to understand this stuff. I obsessed about it. And so I've openly talked about how painful and difficult it was for me going through this. And that is why I do this, right? If I was not doing this, I'd be very successful working as a therapist. My caseload was always completely packed, barely had openings. I do this because I love this too. And I was honestly, a big part of me wanted to bring Margaret on board and share her with the world because I knew she was so brilliant. And I was thinking, my gosh, like before she retires, I want to be able to share all the stuff that she knew and kind of collaborated with what we were figuring out with breakups, right? Her understanding of mental health, because she was a clinician for like 40 years before she came on board the channel, And so we took all the information that we were learning and studying about breakups and talking about it every week with mental health and incorporating it together. There was no talk about attachment theory and breakups when we launched the channel. You can see for yourself. No one else talked about it. That was what we came up with figuring this stuff out. Okay, now there's a lot of people that just take our information and regurgitate it like they thought of it. Well, considering I coached many of those people, we know where it came from. And I was very, very lucky to have someone as incredibly wise as Margaret to make sure that we got everything correct as we did this stuff. She said, it might have been a slight obsession, but it got me through. It's a healthy obsession. It's a healthy obsession to study this stuff when you're going through a breakup. But that's why I say don't just watch those no contact videos. Watch all the videos that have the low amount of views. Those are the ones that have the real meat to them. But people tend to go for the clickbait stuff. I met with Victoria 2 times, and what a gem. I think her telling me to stay the course and that I was one of the most patient clients she had ever met kept me motivated. And Victoria is a gem. And I was so happy that I could have Victoria training with Margaret before Margaret had passed away. That was one of my goals, is get Victoria with Margaret as long as we can, with training with her while she was going to grad school, as long as we could, before she came on board to do any coaching. I was able to go no contact. I never initiated contact with him. I never called him. And that is going to have a huge impact on her ex. Colin was not able to let me go all these months. The number of indirect directs I got became comical. He would reach out or call every few days. I tried to set boundaries, but I was convinced he was deaf. I would tell him what I needed, wanted, and he could never recommit to us. We had lunch 2 times over a 5-month course. We go to the same gym and would bump into each other sometimes. Sometimes I would say hi, sometimes not. He had ordered his own books about being an overthinker and actually read them. So this is good. She's doing the creative healing course. He's reading some books. I don't know what they are, but at least he's making some sort of effort. About a month ago, he started coming a little closer. He called as he was leaving work one day and just blurted out, "Do you want to do something tonight?" We went to a movie, held hands, and went our own ways. Started texting more. He would call every few days. We went to dinner last week. He opened the car door, restaurant door, and treated me just like when we were dating. He mentioned an upcoming trip with his family and that if the stars align, maybe you will be in it too. However, each time we would see each other, he would pull way back and I wouldn't hear from him for days. I already had him pegged as a fearful avoidant with some depression. Yeah, and I'm sure she figured that out because she had been working on the course for months. Obsessing about our videos every night, right? I lean towards anxious attachment with secure sprinkled in. We had a fair amount of childhood trauma. His parents divorced when he was young. He's more introverted and I'm more extroverted. I have a large circle of friends and he has a small circle and isn't very close with them. He kept saying he just didn't know if he could be with me. And that is so hard to hear month after month. But I kept telling myself, this is how he is feeling in this moment. It is so funny how many times I could hear Craig, Victoria, and Margaret in my head giving me reminders. Well, sure. And the Creative Healing course has those audio affirmations. There's, I think, 9 or 10 sets of audio affirmations. I think it's 3 with Victoria, 3 with Margaret, and maybe 4 with me, something like that. After our date last week, he went silent again. I was more direct and asked about the distance. Sure, because it had really been building up. So I don't want you to normally do this, but remember, this had been going on for months in this particular situation. He said he was so sorry for being indecisive, but needed time to think and didn't know when he would have an answer. The end of April, I finally reached my limit. I sent him a long email explaining that he needed to decide whether or not he was recommitting to us and that he needed individual help so he can bring his best self to the table, or I'm out. Now, this was very risky for her to do it like this. I don't know if she had talked about it with Victoria, so maybe Victoria had guided her specifically on how to say it, but you don't want it to feel like an ultimatum. So it's kind of risky the way she did it, but let's see what happened. I told him he needed to let me go if he couldn't do this. No more texts, calls, or meetups. I explained that I had put in hundreds of hours of work on myself to heal old wounds and become a better partner. I was ready to do this with him or move forward without him. But guys, remember, she's working really hard on herself. She's listening to the videos all night long. She's been obsessing about our work and what we teach, doing the Creative Healing course every day. There's a big difference between this and logging on to Instagram and watching to see if your ex has been online or offline on WhatsApp, Facebook, all the social media, which is what many of you are doing. And then you wonder why you don't get the same results, because you're not putting in the same level of effort. Don't kid yourself, okay? Don't get mad at us and blame us when things don't go your way, when you only take half of the strategies that we give you. When we tell you to do all these particular things and you take a couple of things and do it, and then you get upset and blame us or the channel, it's because you're not following through. And we're very clear that not everybody will hear from their ex. But we also say you're more likely to hear from them when you're doing the work, focusing on it. I'm telling you, I don't know if it's a disturbance in the force. We joke about that, but it seems like there's a lot of truth in that there's an energy shift and it makes people come back. But those of you that keep obsessing without processing, healing, and growing, that's part of the reason you're not hearing from these people. I'm telling you, I've been doing this a long time. Remember, I say, let them go to get them back, but part of letting them go is the process and the healing. I had reached my limit. I kept hearing Victoria say that I would know when I was done, and boy, was I done. I had given him almost 7 months to sort through this. He had never been alone in his life, and I really thought he needed that time. But I was done. In his very kind way, he thanked me for the email and said he needed time to absorb and would get back to me. The following day, he responded with a very lengthy email explaining how much he loves me, but that he had to let me go. Now, guys, I'm telling you what the beauty in this is, because she's done so much work, she doesn't get thrown off. She processed, healed, grown, and was confident with what was going to happen regardless of what happened with him. So watch what happens. Normally, if you don't do the work, you're caught in that cycle of the begging and the pleading, and all of a sudden you lose emotional self-control. But watch what happens. I responded with, okay, thanks for everything. I wish you the best. He called 3 hours later. I didn't answer. He called again this morning. I didn't answer. He texted and said that he knows I don't want to talk to him, but it's very important. Could I please call him? See what I'm talking about? Now he's feeling the loss. For the first time, he sees it, he feels it, she's done. This is why I say people can tell. I text back and said I would call him, but I am done hearing about how he doesn't want to be with me because he wasn't happy. I am done having this conversation over and over. I called him and we talked for an hour. It was the most open he has ever been. He was very emotional. He had instant dread when he sent that message saying he had to let me go. He struggled all night. He heard a song on the radio and knew it was a mistake. He officially asked me on a proper date for next week. Asked me about my schedule so he had an update. I reassured him that we are going to take this slow and that it will feel a bit awkward to start, but we got this. Neither of us talked or dated any other person during this time, but I didn't tell him that. He never directly asked, but I could tell he would fish on occasion. I kept him guessing. We have truly been working on ourselves. We had a conversation with his dad last week about childhood trauma issues and asked questions about his parents' divorce. He is close to his dad, but had never told him about the trauma. Colin said it was the best conversation he ever had with his dad. Colin has been focused on becoming more present with his adult children and learning how to show them more affection and love. He has really worked hard in his own way. I am still going to gently push for a little more work on attachment styles as the months go on. Just shy of 7 months since the breakup, we are officially a couple again. I told him that it doesn't have to be next year or even in 2 years, but that I want to be a wife again before I die. I am wife material, LOL. He completely agreed. Because busy kid schedule seems to stress him out, I went as far as to telling him that I want to be involved in our grandkids' lives someday and needed to know if he was okay with that. As long as I don't open a full-time daycare for the grandkids, he is hoping that we will be involved with lots of grandkids. Thank you so much. You guys are the absolute best, and I will always be grateful. And she attached a picture of their engagement, and it's so nice to see. And I'm so thankful for this kind of success story. I love success stories. Everybody has their own unique success story. No contact does work. What you do in no contact is just as important, if not more important. Guys, you are going to live your life. Either your ex is going to come back and you're going to be together, or you're going to move forward and date other people. What version of yourself do you want to be? The same version that you were because of this breakup, or a new, more confident person? We have 2,000 videos. Okay? Watch more than the no contact videos. Go in the Be a Master in Relationships playlist. Go in the Understanding Attachment Styles playlist. Do the Knowledge Workbooks or the Knowledge Creative Healing course. I'm telling you, there is so much incredible information in there that's going to help you process. It's like your little guide with you every day, that instead of watching when they're going on Instagram or WhatsApp, you sit down and you watch a video and you answer questions, or you do an art therapy activity, or you watch a cartoon, or you do a homework assignment. We literally came up with all different activities that are going to help you process, learn, grow, and kind of become a more secure, confident person. And this is a great success story, and a lot more people will have these kind of success stories when you follow through with what we tell you and not just take things here and there and then do them the way that you want to do them. You could do that, but we're professionals that have done this for a long time. So we know things that you have no idea about. Those little things that you're wondering about day after day, or issues or some particular thing that came up for you, we've seen that literally hundreds, if not thousands of times. Okay, think about that. We know what generally happens in these situations. We know those little nuances that you're going through because we're always talking to people day after day from around the world. I've talked with celebrities. I've talked with royalty. I've talked with famous artists, famous professional sports players from all different leagues. I've talked to people high up in the militaries. I've talked with anybody and everybody you could possibly imagine. And love and breakups affects us all. So you're not alone. We have thousands of videos that can help you. We are available for coaching. You can get the Creative Healing Course of the Workbooks on the website. You can see lots of people in the comments and share your story with them. And just realize that there are a lot of people that thought they would never get their ex back, thought they would never have a chance, and did. And regardless of what happens in your story, you want to be a success story for yourself in whatever way that makes you find your own happiness. But you're going to feel so much better doing personal growth. You feel more enlightened, more at peace, and more confident. And I see it in the people that I talk to when we do multiple calls. And, you know, I've been coaching some people, they come back to me for years and they talk about the growth and how they feel and how they've changed. And it's such an inspiring thing. So please understand, no matter how you're feeling right now, it's going to get better. Okay? Slowly, it will get better. Stay focused on your personal growth and it will happen sooner than later. Focus on positive things, not toxic, manipulative stuff that's out there that's only going to make you more angry and hurtful and resentful, and in a lot of cases of the opposite sex. But we want you to process that stuff and grow, okay? Because nobody's perfect. So hopefully you found this one helpful. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do video calls. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.